Well, good morning. I hope I'm live and I hope the audio is going to be better today. So let's see. I don't know if I have my chat working. I hope so. I'll just say hello. Let's see if I can say it. Hello and good morning. So I will start working and hopefully you guys can chime in and chat is working. And gosh, if not, I guess I'll have to come back and try to figure out what's going on with the chat. But I'm going to start. And so what I've done is, and I'll change to the other view so that you can see. I've created the first set of antlers and in Sculpey, but I haven't like refined them yet. They're bumpy looking. Not that it's not that way in real life. They sometimes are very rough looking. But I did armature wire, and then I'm working Sculpey over top. So I'm also making sure that it will come out of a mold. And I have two sets of antlers here because I have two different deer. Anyway, I'm not sure I'm on with the chat, but if you guys are there and able to see me, that's great. If not, I'll do this again later. But, oh, hello, Frank and Jackie. Good morning. It is working. So I'll say hello this way. Good morning. I'm trying to get used to my new setup with the two cameras, and it's a little bit daunting in the beginning, but I'm getting used to it. So I'll go back to the other view. So I was working, let me try to backtrack a little bit and show you these legs, feet. I didn't have time due to holiday goings on that are just taking up a lot of time. But I wanted to put up pictures that you can follow and still plan to do that. So I'm trying to detail out these reindeer feet, and it's they're very unusual compared to what you would imagine. There's two prongs on the back. This isn't even done yet. This is more like it, I suppose. Let me see if I can get a good camera view right there. Two prongs on the back that stick out, and then there's these two, this kind of a split hoof, and they really can spread out. They can spread way out for traction in ice and snow. They don't hold up that well in ice, but they sure know how to hold on in snow. And they're just beautifully designed for their purpose. So I was thinning out these legs. All of these legs have a wire armature inside. And I'm soon going to put the head on. And you can see why not to have the head on while you're working on the feet, because I'm holding the feet and working them like this. You know, just carefully detailing out those back feet and trying to not damage what's on the other side. So the way to do that, of course, is to have the head off. So here's my very rough, and I'm trying to think of the best ways to make it so you guys can see what I'm doing. I will start to detail that head and put some pictures in there in the community tab that you can see what I'm following. And normally I always like to say, well, let's measure everything, measure it, and then you'll get your proportions right. But today, and on this particular project, I decided to just go in and sort of wing it. Let's see if you can see what I'm doing with that ear. And then I'm going to correct my antlers. And I would say that doing this kind of clay sculpture, like where I was not trained, but I learned how to do the sculpture for the giftware industry. In the end, everything has to be very smooth and very well defined. You can't have like bumpy areas. You have to have a very deliberate looking work. I'm going to get some hot clay out for a moment and just put some on that ear. And I have hot clay here. Next to me I have, let me just show you, I'm going to switch back for a minute so you can see. I'll get used to all this moving around. But right here I have a hot plate, and it's warming up my clay, which I don't know if you can see that, but I have warm clay inside here so that it's very workable. It's, let me go to the other view and you can see it. This is why TV shows have camera people to switch from different views. So it's very malleable if I warm it up. Whereas if I just let it cool to room temperature, it becomes very firm. And you want that because that's how you get the good detail out of it. So you can see how those feet are coming along. And I'm thinking about getting yet another camera because I realized I want you to be able to see a close-up side view as well. So I might just go ahead and do that now that I know how this all works. And it stands up nicely. Let me see if I can switch views for a minute. And you can see it stands up pretty nicely. If I get another camera, I'll just have to use another mouse click, right? And I can show you, of course, here's the head. Okay, the head goes on there. And then, of course, the antlers go on. So you'll get to see this whole thing put together. But sometimes you have to break it up and just do it in stages like this. So I'll go back to my my close-up here. And I got my hot clay. I've got my little reindeer head. And now I'll just work on these. So I have two smaller ones for the other reindeer. I'll put those aside. So I started with the wire, just shaped the wire. And then I'm using a different kind of clay. I'm using Sculpey clay, which this does the opposite of my modeling clay. My modeling clay, if I heat it, it melts. If I use Sculpey clay and heat it, it actually hardens. And so you can smooth it with alcohol. And I'm going to just show you what I wanted to do for the final round on this. First of all, I had this little, I want to make sure you can see it. I had this little point break off. I'm going to make another little point right there on it so you can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm just going to add to that point. And it doesn't have the armature sticking all the way out there. On these points, there's no armature, but they did harden and they won't change position once they've hardened. And you can use sanding and Dremel tools, but when you're putting it on, I'm using Super Sculpey here. When you're just putting it on, it doesn't seem to blend real well right away. But all you have to do is get a little alcohol. Let me put that where you can have my little alcohol jar. And I have my little brush here. And I think I need a paper towel to blot on. So I have that. So what I need is an AI robot that does my my camera work for me. So I take this little piece. Let me bring it closer to the camera. And you can see that. There we go. And I'll just kind of hold my finger under it and brush that on there with a little alcohol. It smooths it right out. So I'll go through and there's some tips that need to be fixed there. Bake it again for 15 minutes at 275. And then on the final round, I'll take it out and just correct the bumpy areas that are on there. So there might be some little places I can fill in and then go over the whole thing with alcohol to smooth it all out. So as you can see, that wasn't too hard to fix that little point. And then you can see the metal sticking out from my armature and places there. And I'll just get this tip fixed right here. It's like sometimes you can paint a little alcohol on the dried up or heated, baked Sculpey, and it causes the new Sculpey to adhere a lot better. So I really recommend if you're going to use with Sculpey, have some regular isopropyl rubbing alcohol that you'd get at a drugstore, and then have your paper towel and just smooth it on there. And it does kind of show you that you can get it very smooth without really worrying about sanding. But the other thing about the design of these antlers is, and I'll try to explain this in just a moment, is the idea of a mold, idea of it coming, I messed up that one, just fix that again. The idea of it all coming out of a mold, and you're probably saying, well, what material would I possibly want to cast this in if I put a rubber mold on this? And the material would probably be, in this case, resin, and a very strong kind of resin that would be, sometimes they use metal reinforced resin, like bronze particles in resin. And that's for aesthetic reasons too, to just kind of make sure the material has some integrity other than just feeling like it's plastic, because resin is kind of plastic really, but it's strong, very strong, and not prone to breakage. All right, so that's kind of a little point on there that I would have to fill in and reinforce, I think. It's a little funny looking. I might even press that in a little. I just don't want the metal popping through right there. There, that's probably better. In real life, these antlers are so, let me get a little more clay here. Oh, here's some right here. This is the Sculpey, the Super Sculpey. It's really soft in this stage. What was I going to say there? Oops, see how that just doesn't want to stick until let me bring that closer. See, put a little, and then I blot it on a paper towel over there. Just get that covered with a little alcohol first, and stick that on there like that. And then I'll soften that back up and smooth it in with the alcohol. So I hope you can hear me a little better this morning. The last time I did this, which was the first time with the new camera, the sound was coming through my computer and not my camera, and I sounded really far away. So I hope this sound is a lot better, and it looks like it is from my readout on the screen. I'm using OBS software for the first time this week, and that's helping me give you different camera views so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so that's, let me get a little more alcohol. I'll bring up my paper towel so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just dipping in the alcohol, just getting a little out on the paper towel, and then just getting that blended a little better. You can always sand it when it's hardened. And again, you don't want to go over apparently I've seen plenty of warnings not to go over 15 minutes and not to go over 275 degrees, that's Fahrenheit, to bake that. All right, so now my metal is covered and I've got that little point back on there on that side. And the reason I say it can come out of a mold is because look at it, like right like that. You can see that rubber mold can pull right off, right off in one direction. And then, of course, you'd put the piece back in its place, put some separator on there, or actually you might not need separator with Sculpey. And then pour the other part of the rubber on that side. And then to create your cast, you would have to paint in hydrocal or resin, whatever it is, and put the other side on real quickly before it sets up, because otherwise you'd need a centrifuge to get this. Thank you for letting me know you guys hear me. I appreciate it. But, this could also be a little piece of metal that's done by a jeweler in a centrifuge. So you have choices, but the Sculpey makes it possible for me to create a model. I'm going to put that on so you can kind of see, and I'll go to the other view. See, my armature goes right into the clay. Those, I'll have to retain those horns or holes. Let me get it right where you could see it. And just a front on view, close up. There we go. And you can kind of see how that's going to work. Otherwise, try to do that in clay, right? It's pretty hard. So all of these little tricks, they're not really tricks. It's just when you're a giftware sculptor professionally, every project you make, there's no rule book, there's no guidebook. You just have to work it out from scratch. And I'm trying to find my other antlers. And so I'm going to put that over there. It's always a challenge. You've got to figure out the best way to do something. And there's lots of ways to do things. And by the way, this paper here is just parchment paper. And I just bake the Sculpey right on the parchment paper, and I put foil around it. So a little toaster oven that gets the right temperature is all you need for that. So I'm going to, I really have a challenge with my time during the holidays, unfortunately, because I had intended to get pictures up so you could follow along and see what I'm doing with these feet, because it's so hard from the pictures to try to find out what they look like. But once you see what they look like, and I'll switch views now, let's see. Once you find out what they look like, you're like, oh, that's so weird. But, you know, I'm trying to do it true to the model, true to what the reindeer really look like. So that's my challenge. I'm going to have to meet it. That's my goal. And then, so in the end, we'll have two reindeer side by side. And we'll have, of course, the head will be on, the horns will be on, and then the sled with the character that I've started making. And so we'll come back and do all that. And I can see I need another camera angle. So we'll get it all working. That's my goal. And thank you, Frank and Jackie, for being on this morning. I really appreciate it. And I will be on Friday morning. And hopefully I'll have a lot of pictures for you this time to take a look at what I'm doing closer. Take care and have a great day. Bye-bye.